On the Xinjiang region and its history, I spoke earlier with California anthropologist Dru Gladney. He has lived in the region and has studied and written books about the Uyghurs.
Well, Western China, where the Uyghurs live, is on the ancient Silk Roads that connected East Asia with the West, with Europe and originally Rome. And it's along these Silk Roads that the Uyghurs have flourished, developed a Muslim civilization. Originally they were Buddhist and eventually converted to Islam like many other Central Asian populations. They're very similar to the Uzbeks of Uzbekistan in culture and in language. They were the agrarian farming populations of Central Asia, unlike the nomadic Muslim populations such as originally Kazakhs and Kyrgyz. They basically settled in the Tarim Basin area after being moved south in the 9th century. They were actually defeated by another nomadic Turkic population. All these groups speak Turkic languages, but they converted to Islam rather late. And still, they have a strong Buddhist tradition in the region. You may know of the famous Buddhist caves in Western China. Many of these Buddhist pilgrims pass through Uyghur areas, and the Uyghurs have always had a strong appreciation for this history of Central Asia and the Silk Road.
I've read somewhere that the Xinjiang region is about the size of Iran, but not heavily populated. Is that the case?
Yeah, it's fairly sparsely populated for China. I mean, of course, it's the largest region of China. It's about 1/6 of all of China, but it only has a population of under 30 million. So you can see that it's a very important strategic area for China, not only for its vastness and the population pressures that China is experiencing elsewhere, but also because its linkages to Central Asia and its mineral resources. The vast majority of China's remaining energy resources are located in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region.
Now, we've heard of radicalized Muslims in Pakistan and Afghanistan. This area is largely close to that. Are those influences spreading into the area in any way?
Well, of course, Xinjiang shares a border with Pakistan as well as Afghanistan, though there's no open highway or road to Afghanistan. Nevertheless, there is the Wakhan corridor that connects Afghanistan with China, as well as, of course, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan. So all these stans are inhabited by Muslim populations. In recent years, some of them have been more radicalized, particularly with the rise of the Taliban in South Asia. So China is close to these regions and is, of course, very concerned about the spillover of radical Islam.
How much of a concern should that be, given what we saw in Tiannamen? We've seen other attacks being carried out in recent years as well, largely from the Uyghurs.
Yeah, although the recent incident in Tiannamen is hard to connect with radical Islam, it's clearly the act of a crazed, disgruntled individual who's Uyghur, who's Muslim, as all Uyghurs are. But whether his motivation was due to radical Islam is really far-fetched, in my opinion. It doesn't seem to have that kind of signature. The concern about Uyghurs falling under the influence of radical Islam is also, I think, exaggerated, overly exaggerated, because Uyghurs traditionally, as I mentioned, are connected to Central Asia, have a Buddhist heritage, and have been heavily influenced by Central Asian Sufism. They celebrate their culture. They have many festivals. Song and dance is very much part of their culture. And these are all the kinds of things that the Taliban and radical Wahhabis generally oppose, and indeed have criticized Uyghur musicians and traditional folk music.
What was the one takeaway you had while you spent time there?
That the culture of the Uyghur people and the Central Asian peoples that are in Western China is extraordinarily rich. And China has made tremendous efforts to try to integrate this region into the vast population that is China. But it's a recent integration. I worked with Muslims in China known as the Hui, who are often described as the Chinese Muslims because they speak Chinese and they have Chinese culture. And they've lived in China for over 1,200 years. The region of Xinjiang in Chinese means new territory. So it suggests that this region has only been recently integrated into China, and therefore the cultures have never really blended. And over the last 20 years, China has launched this Great West Development Program, and what we're seeing is increasing interaction between Chinese culture, increasing integration of the region.
Dr. Gladney, thank you so much for your time.